Hi friends, Miss Emily here. Welcome to my very first video lesson. I've chosen to share with you today French artist, Parisian artist, Henri Rousseau. Henri Rousseau never actually got to leave Paris. He lived his whole life in the city of Paris. He was a toll booth operator. He worked as a customs official and kind of sat at the border of the city of Paris and checked people in and out so they knew who was in the city, how many people were in the city. That's actually why I chose him, because he was stuck in Paris and he never got to actually travel to these jungles that he paints. He just traveled in his imagination within the city limits. This is a great example of one of his paintings. That's probably why they have it right here. He wasn't a trained artist. He was considered an outsider artist, which means he didn't take lessons. He certainly wasn't classically trained like some people I know. This is a self-portrait, and you can see he is in Paris. He was born in 1844. So you can see his clothing is kind of old-fashioned. There's no cars in Paris. There wouldn't be any color photographs of him because this is actually, if you know local history, we're here in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia. This is before the Civil War by like 20 years. So this is a great example of his work. And I'm gonna take inspiration from this one heavily because these look like dogs to me, right? Those are terriers of some sort. And this plant here, we're going to see this a few times. It reminds me of these bell hyacinth that I have blooming out front right now. It's spring outside. So to prep for this lesson, I went outside and I took a walk and I gathered lots of plants that reminded me sort of the plants I see in Henri Rousseau paintings. This looks like it says the year 1910, which actually, if that's correct, would have been the year he died. He was only 66 when he died. He wasn't a very old man. Ooh, this one's scary. There's blood and gore. An owl, a leopard, a lion. So yeah, he's also got animals that don't necessarily live together. Like a lion would be out hunting on the plains. This is a tiger. This one's called Surprise. And he's got a lot of red in with his greens. And I actually found a little bit of this holly outside that has some red where it's sprouting, which kind of reminded me. Like I can just put these plants on top of this and it still works. It's like Henri Rousseau. 3D. This one, we've got another figure and some more animals. They look like antelope. These giant, just sort of looks like a frond, but it's huge. So he's almost taking these usual plants that he's seeing in the botanical gardens or on the streets of Paris, and he's painting them huge to turn them into jungle plants. This is another one in 1910. This one lives in New York. You could go see this in New York City, and it's called The Sleeping Gypsy. This is one of the ones that doesn't have a jungle feel to it, but you can really see how mysterious Rousseau's artwork is. He really has a creative other world in his mind. You can see, the lion's just coming up and sniffing the gypsy. He's not a surrealist. He's making art a lot earlier than the surrealists, but he has a dreamlike quality to this either way. There's a black and white photo of him next to one of his paintings, so you can even see how large this painting is. This is a jungle landscape. We looked at this one. That's the one with the attack happening. Where is it? We saw it, didn't we? I thought we did. Anyway, that's a painting of what his world really looked like. There's a little customs gate. That's a photo of him at 51. So let's get started. I don't have my usual amazing stash of supplies that I have at the studio. I was able to find some watercolors, some pencils, and some markers. That's basically what I'm working with right now. And I'm going to show you some examples of how I've done this project before. And then I'm going to do one for you. So you can sort of decide based on what you have at home, what you want to do for this. This is like bare bones. Did the drawing with pencil, and then I went over it with pen, and then I colored it with markers. You can see my beloved dachshund Fredo is next to some giant tulips. And these were inspired by some violets in my yard and then just some leaves. So I don't know. It almost feels like Fredo's tiny, or maybe Fredo's regular size, and the plants are giant. So this creates a scene where my animal is sort of hidden away in this landscape, and it gives you a feeling that he's smaller than these plants. And then I went into the background and I did a moon and some stars and colored it in. You can see I ran out of one blue marker and colored it in with a slightly different blue marker. So I'm pretty chill with that kind of stuff. Here's another cool example. This was on a piece of construction paper, and I did some really big flowers on this one. It's kind of too tall to fit on my screen the whole time. But you can see I included myself and Fredo in this one. It's a really heavy wiener dog theme to a lot of my artwork. So I'm sitting down here and I'm under these giant flowers. This one's like a tulip. This is like a hot red daisy. This is like bluebells made out of a heart shape. You know, the nice thing about this is because it's imaginary, you can even imagine flowers that don't exist. You can come up with like crazy flowers. I might do that on mine. So if you've got a really cool stash at home, you might have canvas board. And here you can see, I haven't painted this yet, but this is a sketch. You can see I've got those big daisies. This was inspired by a hydrangea. Maybe I'm going to do a little kitty down here this time, since I give so much attention to the wiener dog. We have 2 dogs and 5 cats here on the farm with us. So we're very animal friendly here. Here's my little tiger sleeping tonight. And then I can add some more flowers around him. So that's a nice start. So I went out into the yard and I gathered a lot of natural materials to inspire my project today. I didn't even leave my yard. And you know, there are even maybe things that can inspire you around the house. I found some bell hyacinth, which looks a lot like something in a Rousseau painting. And a daffodil, which I kind of like. Like, imagine if you could climb up into that and sleep in there. That would be really cool. This is like some wild onion. These, I used to pick these as a kid, but I'm told they're weeds. But they're really pretty. I like the little purple flowers. And this is some sort of fun broadleaf ivy that Michael and I have that grows out front of our house. And I liked how it had that little red up there. So I also found this fake flower. I have dozens of these at the studio, but not as many as home. So this is sort of my one flower for inspiration. This is a barrette, but it's shaped like a butterfly that could land on something. And then I grabbed this like Mario mushroom, which maybe I can have some mushrooms growing in my forest. So I've got lots of good stuff to inspire me, shapes to inspire me. I'm going to get my surface and we'll start we'll start drawing. For today's piece, I'm going to do a watercolor painting. Got a nice piece of watercolor paper here. It's got some dents and marks, but you know, I'm going to paint on top of it, so whatevs. There's nothing saying you can't do this on a piece of printer paper. That's basically what this one was, printer paper and markers. So if you don't have all the supplies I do right now, you can still create a piece for this lesson. Right, so I'll start with this bell hyacinth because I'm pretty excited about it. I'm basically going to hold it here in one hand and draw with my other hand so I can see my subject matter and where I'm drawing it at the same time. Don't want to have to work from memory. I want to make this easy for myself so I don't have to move my head around to like see my object. So get the gesture of the stem. And then let's look at the shape of one of these flowers. It's got that sort of circle and then two curves coming off of it like this. And then just add some more petals in there. And then it's got a little stem. So let's do some of these. there's my pencil sketch. As I'm getting ready to paint, we'll make sure I've got paints, first of all. Got my paints. Got a couple brushes somewhere around here. Got some water. I actually like to reuse a little container with a lid for my water so that if I leave it on the table, my cats don't spill it. And then I also grabbed some paper towels. After I wash my brush, I'm going to dry it off to make sure there's no color in it. And then get water to mix. So I'm not washing and then going right into the paint. But this is just going to be to dab my brush on. I'm going to start with the background so that I'm not having to paint the background around parts that I've already painted. Oops. I want a purple sky. I want a purple sky in this. You get a little bit of blue in there, but mostly purple. Yeah, I like that purple. There, I'm pretty happy with that for the background. I kind of like how some parts are more purple and some parts are more blue. I think that makes it more interesting. Let's get into the green. I have 3 different greens, so I'm gonna mix them up. I'm gonna use this one sometimes, this one sometimes. I can even add some blue and yellow to that to get some different greens. So you don't have to use the color right as it comes. You can sort of mix them on the brush, you can mix them on the paper, you can mix them on top of each other, you know, this is your thing. One of my favorite techniques is a watercolor wash. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a wet brush and I'm going to move the paint around this shape of the water. There's no paint on there. It's a little bit blue because my water has got some stuff in it. And then I'm going to take a loaded brush full of this green and watch what happens when I put it right here. And I'm going to pull this up at an angle like that. See how it moves the paint. Let's put some more on there. Oops. Kind of like that. Let's do another wash with the lighter color at the other end. Maybe even some yellow down here. Yeah, look how that mixes. I like that. I'm gonna mix some of that yellow on the paper. I don't mind that. Happy accident. think I want to outline these flowers with markers. I'm gonna use sort of gray blue. Just for fun, to really bring them out. It's okay to mix media. Should have done that over here. Well. Ooh, maybe I want to grab some green markers for this. Down here. It's just a little thing. That's not too much to color with markers. I'm gonna like it. I could even come in here and add some texture. Adding texture with markers. They're water-soluble markers too, so if I go over that with a brush, let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe a mess. No, I like it. I can paint over it. That is fun. That means I can paint over this too. Sort of like creating some green, some depth by layering these greens. Once you got your paper covered, then you can start layering. I do want to come in there with a little bit of purple. Let's go to the marker for that. Those are those little purple flowers that I got from the yard. At least it's inspired by them. It's okay to come in and cover this background. And then come in and bring that back out. It's sort of like I'm painting with the marker now. I like it. It's a weird little area of hyacinth forest has been the most layered part so far. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Let's see. Let me get that butterfly. Maybe I'm gonna make this a monarch butterfly because West Virginia. I'm mixing an orange because I don't love my orange that they give me here. I want half and half. I'm gonna do the orange first. And then I'm gonna let this dry. And I'm gonna do black on top of it. I think the butterfly is dry enough now to do my monarch. So I'm gonna get my marker, my black marker, and go in on top of this dry orange paint. Outline. Hi, Fredo. Veins. They have more black on the tips though. And then they have those little dots on the wings. And then this part in here goes like this. I'm going to try to sort of make it symmetrical, like the two sides are kind of similar. The color on top of the orange paint. I gotta wait till it's dry. That's important. You can see up here it's not dry. That's why it's not working very well up there. But down here it's drier. Hair getting in the way. My Henri Rousseau monarch. Maybe he's never seen a monarch, so could look funky. Jungle monarch is bigger than a dachshund, you know? It's a big butterfly. Let's see, I want to get a little more texture and color here with the markers. I can just go in and sort of add some leaves in the background with purple, just because it's a crazy color. Like there are these leaves growing up, almost like seaweed. Just draw it like it was seaweed, you know. This is my imaginary jungle. Anything can be happening here. If I see any spots I missed, I can come back in with the paint, touch it up a little bit more, and yeah, I don't know, I kind of like that. I kind of want to call this my Henri Rousseau inspired jungle scene. So just so I'm adding this to my collection of demos, I'm gonna sign and date it. Today is the 22nd, 2020, and this is Miss Emily. Hoping you've enjoyed this Henri Rousseau inspired jungle scene, and if you want to go ahead and email your images, just snap a picture on your phone or your camera or whatever, and email it to missemillyart, MISSEMIOYART @gmail.com. I would love to share your artwork in an ongoing digital gallery. All right, stay safe and healthy. Thanks, guys.